Welcome to Melanated and Spiritually Woke. I'm your host, Adorable Earth Angel. I'm a holistic wellness educator of 12 years with a master's in public health, energy healing of 7 years, and have been a Black female spiritual alchemist my whole life. Each week, we'll be sharing uplifting, spiritually focused wellness practices to best support you in regaining your personal power, or we'll have special guest interviews with the same intention. This show is in service to all those listening, and especially for folks of color who are seeking information to support their physical, mental, and emotional spiritual awakening. These practices will help you live your best life. Welcome. Thank you for joining us on this beautiful, beautiful Wednesday, the 18th. Thank you so much for bringing yourself, for bringing your ancestors, for bringing just all the beauty that is you. For those of you who've never listened to this show before, thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. It's a show that's dedicated to raising the frequency. And in fact, in this show, I have the opportunity and a platform to really uplift a voice, in that I am a Black woman, speaking to like the spiritual qualities of what it means to be incarnated in these times. And so the show is meant to be practical and spiritual, and that the spirituality gives way to practical information to help and improve one's daily life. So you're in the right place. Thank you for coming. For those who've been listening, thank you for coming back. Thank you for being part of this growing journey. I appreciate your trust and your wisdom and being here. We are in some interesting times. We've been coming through a lot of different energies, and I'm going to go ahead and jump into that. For the week of September 18th through the 28th. This past month has been so heavily earth signed out. And for those of you who know what I mean, we've been having so many planets in the sign of Virgo. And speaking to like the astrological energies, Virgo is this energy of literally being on Earth, your earthly experience. Virgo's the energy of the everyday routines that make up your life. Paying your bills, going to work, making meals, going to the gym, taking your vitamins, flossing. It's just kind of what you do. It's just the daily maintenance of being a human being. And that energy is very detailed. It's a very detailed energy. You know, remember the little tiny floss that goes in the teeth, that's like the smallest detail of life. So it's very much just kind of bringing our attention to our health and the details that sometimes we may forget when we're focusing on all these other aspects of what it means to be alive, and just kind of getting our routines on point. And so we've had quite a bit of planets. We've had the sun, we've had Mercury, Venus, Mars, all hanging out in Virgo. That's a lot of Virgo energy. So a lot of energy that invites us into unpacking within ourselves a sense of mastery. I've been speaking to that mastery activation. Maybe you've been sensing it. You've been sensing that life has been just kind of in this state of just like, okay, everyday living, just brushing my teeth, washing my face, picking up the kids, dropping them off, hanging out with friends. It's this kind of just everyday energy. And within that, there's also been a little bit of conflict. Now, the conflict that has been stirring for a lot of people, that stirs when we have so much earth energy, is with all this earth energy, there's a density. And the conflict is that we have within our beings this need to have ideas and freshness and forward momentum. And earth energy doesn't really give us that. Earth energy is kind of like, with Virgo, it's kind of like what you've already got going on. It's the energy of just kind of what you already got going on. It's not the energy of expanding. So if you've been feeling a little bit conflicted for the past month, mostly I'm talking about, that conflict of just not being able to feel like there's a forward momentum. One, we've been in Virgo, which is just basically the energy of what's already going on. So there's no new energies, no new opportunities that have really been surfacing for a lot of people. For some people, they've been like, yeah, actually, I have had new opportunities. And that's brilliant if that's been your experience of having new opportunities. But for some people, they're still kind of holding out and going like, where's my stuff? Where's my stuff at? So that's one thing. We recently just had Mercury and Venus cross into Libra, which is an air sign. So that energy is particularly delicious, specifically with Venus being in Libra, because Venus rules Libra. We have the planet of beauty in the astrological sign of beauty. Beauty square. So there's a lot of emphasis on shifting our conversations, shifting our mental focus into what brings us joy. Libra is the energy of joy and this energy of refinement. It's good food, good company, things that are very palatable, and having the opportunity to just have some pleasure and sensuality, which, you know, and that Virgo energy is definitely not the opposite of that in a way. And that Virgo energy is more so about the daily grind and getting things done and working things out. And it's your coworkers. Venus is kind of like, you know, sitting at the water cooler, having fun with your coworkers, or not necessarily like your coworkers. It's more so like having fun with your partners. But it could be if you're right at the edge of where Virgo meets Libra, that's where that sweet spot is. It's like you enjoying your coworkers, right? You enjoying their presence, your company, going out and having a great time doing something. And so that's the Libra experience, is enjoyment of life. So there's also another really big deal happening with the energies. And the big deal is that we have Saturn going direct. Saturn, this big planet out there, holds a very specific energy for us Earthlings. Even though it's all the way out there in space, it is totally influencing. All the planets are, clearly. But Saturn, of all the planets, is one of those planets that gets a bad rap. People talk a lot of stuff about Saturn. Maybe you've heard of your Saturn return around when you're turning like 28 to 30. You get this thing. Saturn comes by and life starts to feel really difficult. It starts to feel like there's a lot of effort or confusion. And Saturn is that energy. But the thing about Saturn is that without Saturn, we would not exist. Saturn literally is the energy of human form. Saturn was present Saturn was sitting right there present when you crossed over from the spiritual realm into the womb, into the planet. Like you coming and being a part of the planet and joining us here. That's Saturn. Without Saturn is the energy, the pain. Saturn is the energy and the work and the pain. Saturn is the energy that was like there when you were growing and building your body within your mother's womb. Saturn is the energy of growth. It grows things, and it grows things over time. It grows things over time. And so a lot of people, humans, sometimes they don't understand or like the energy of Saturn because they know it's going to make them be comfortable with growing things over time. There's no such thing as like a magic bullet or a quick return when it comes to Saturn energy. It is a delayed gratification. delayed being the key word. So we've been sitting with this planet who's the energy of limitation. Because, I mean, how limiting can it be when you have to grow bit by bit? You know, like you don't just like have a baby like in 3 weeks. You know, it's like that I mean, so if the baby is like, if we were to say, if the baby was like a dream, if the baby was a dream career, or the baby was a dream partnership, the baby is a substitute of anything that you want in life. Saturn is the energy that's going to make you earn it. Saturn is the energy that places that restriction. Wherever Saturn goes, it feels like all of the free-flowing energy stops. It's a very like earth-based planet. And within that restriction, Saturn gives us a gift. It gives us a gift to have the time to build something that is very quality. It could be a quality characteristic within ourselves. It could be a quality skill. It could be a quality assurance of us knowing who we are. But it's about building. It's about building relationships with other people as well. Building up our finances. Building up our skill sets. Saturn rewards that energy. But again, it is never instant. It is never this instant gratitude. And so I was sharing, Saturn is the divider between the material world and the spiritual world. And that even within our mom's womb, when we're like physically like growing, we're still in spirit world. We're not on the outside of that. We're in this sacred, special spiritual place within the divine feminine. And it isn't until we have that painful experience of the mother and the child. It's painful for the kid. It's all painful. And that's Saturn too. Saturn represents pain. In that if you fall down on this concrete 3D world, you're going to scrape your knee. If you're like 3 years old, riding a bike, learning how to do it, you fall down and you're going to scrape your knee. That's Saturn. Saturn is the energy of just the world, like the truth of the world, the gravity of it, the nature that the world can feel cruel just by it having gravity. Like gravity has hurt so many children because they're like, whoa, this world is painful. It's like, that's like the beginning stages of you understanding later in life, the analogy of the real world. Saturn is the real world. When Saturn is retrograde, it's the real world times 2. Because the energy that Saturn emits to us, we don't have access to it. And so the energies go inward. And so we have to really pull within ourselves. We have to dig deep. You've been asked to probably dig really deep lately. You have been asked to dig so deep within yourself and to come out on the other side. And when it's retrograde, there can be this it just feels like it's Groundhog Day. It's like every day is just going by and doesn't feel like there's like a forward momentum. For some people, they've been feeling really frustrated. I'm channeling. I have some notes, but I'm also channeling. I'm hearing people say, like, in my mind, like, I'm not just here to work, right? I'm here to have fun. I'm here to have my dreams come true. So with the Saturn energy, it's been feeling like, oh my God, when is this going to be over? But the beautiful thing about it is that when Saturn is retrograde, you may not see a lot of forward momentum in your physical world. It's a great time to do spiritual work. This is the best time to really get your prayers like in a row, so to speak. Ducks in a row, prayers in a row. And that if you take the time and energy over and over and over and over again to do the spiritual work of setting your intentions, saying your prayers, and then also the work of like doing the work. Even though there's not like anything coming in, no new income, no new anything, still showing up, doing the research, learning how to do this, learning how to do that. it's actually, if it is totally back to the analogy that I had, I think it was last week's show, where I was talking about pulling back a slingshot. And so Saturn is this energy of us like our dreams. Imagine like the stone being like the dream. And Saturn is this restriction. It's the rubber band and it's the finger. And when it's retrograde, it's pulling all that energy back. So it's pulling your dreams back from you. And the tension is the tension in this analogy is the work. Being stretched, being really stretched, and it's this work. It's like, oh, I'm being so stretched because there's not that release. There's not that release, so the dream is just, bam, hitting the target. And the target is your dream, and the target is success. That's the analogy that I have that I'm going to keep working with. And that, because that's where we're at right now. We have it within our grip, this beautiful dream in the slingshot. We have the aim on point. Saturn's been helping us by not letting us fire our dream, because if we fire it prematurely, we're going to miss the mark. So the restriction is an opportunity to kind of really pull back on something. Find the aim, get the good form, get the skill sets that are needed. And then when it's time to let go of that, when Saturn moves direct, and like that, just like Saturn's going to go direct on the 18th, but it won't start actually moving. It has to pick up some momentum. It's a big planet. It's not like Mercury, which is just like really fast and just zip, 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 zip. Saturn's huge. You know, it's not like Jupiter huge, but it's big. So it's not going to just be like, I mean, you will start feeling, you may even feel it now, because Saturn right now is not going forward. It's stationing direct, meaning that it's just sitting still. It looks like from the human experience on Earth, it looks like Saturn's literally just still in the sky and not moving at all. And then as it goes forward, we really start to feel like we have some relief. We feel like the limitations, the restrictions are gone, and everything that we put the time and energy building up, spiritual and physical, is rewarded, because Saturn is also the energy of karma. Saturn is the energy of getting getting back what you put out. So whatever energy you put out there, you get it right back. If you're doing your best to be a good person, if you're doing your best to be, like you're sitting down, you're doing the best you can, you're working it out, you're trying to find a way forward. You're not trying to get rich quick schemes are happening under this star. It's very much like you better get your stuff together. That's Saturn. Oh, so it's like old father time, like you better sit down and do your work, But within that, though, there's the ability to grow and evolve. Without Saturn, we would never have a reason to grow. We'd just be like, you know what? I'm cool just chilling, being the same person forever. Saturn's like, no. You need to contribute. You need to be responsible. You need to make an effort. You need to take up and wake up. Take up and wake up. What does that even mean? But you need to make this happen. That's Saturn. Saturn is saying that we need to make it happen, and we need to make sure that we're willing to grow. So Saturn again is this energy of how we experience time. It is the energy that's present as we age, as we turn into elders. Saturn, the archetype of Saturn is the elder. It is our beautiful elder community that we have amongst us on this planet. And it's so interesting because we have ourselves, and this may sound kind of technical, and I'll explain it really quickly, but we have this thing called a south node, and our south node is in Capricorn near Saturn. And my mind is just making this correlation right now, that think about right now what's been in conversation for a while. How we treat our elders in society. How are we treating our older aging population? And we have so many baby boomers that are aging out of the workforce. And what do we do with that energy? And the truth of how we're treating our elders is really coming to the forefront in these like past couple of years. It's like we're really seeing where we're at with that. And there's karma within that, because someday every single person is going to go through a cycle of their bodies transitioning into a new form, a new state of being. Just taking a breath on that, because that's true. So Saturn is the energy of getting older, and it's the energy of wisdom and experience. And this is why, as you get more experience, your experience is corresponds to the amount of abundance that you make. For some people, they're on a different frequency with money. But I would say for the masses, because of what we believe in, the majority of people on this planet recognize that experience correlates with the amount of compensation. So in a sense, Saturn is the energy of earnings as well. It's the energy of earnings as far as your earnings are in cooperation with your experience, the time that you've taken to study a specific subject. So when Saturn's retrograde, there's also this kind of going into that, like it was actually a really great time to study more deeply your area of expertise without real serious demands of having to produce new information. It's kind of the energy of working with what you got, similar with the Virgo energy that I was mentioning earlier. This is the time for you to work with what you got. It's building up what's already here. What's the information that's already here, building on top of what's already here. And as it goes direct, it's kind of like Spirit is showing me you build something and it's underneath a curtain. So it's like there's a curtain, it's a red curtain, and you've been building under this curtain, and it's been hot under this curtain, and you've just wanted some air to breathe. You felt you're in this curtain, and all of a sudden Saturn goes direct. And there's just this hand that goes on top of the curtain. This it's not a curtain. It's like a red cloth over. It's like you lift up a cloth off of something to reveal something underneath. I don't know if you can see this analogy, but it's like there's a work of art happening. There's a cloth over that, and you're in that cloth, and you're just working on something. But it doesn't feel like there's any fresh air because you're underneath a cloth and it's hot and it's hard. And you're like, can I just get up from underneath this thing? And it's like, no, this is Saturn. So then Saturn's direct, and all of a sudden a hand comes down and yanks the cloth off of it, and everyone can see what you did. They're like, wow, look at that. You were working hard. Something to know is that you will always be rewarded. You will always be rewarded. You'll be rewarded because you put in the work. And the only reason you could show up for the physical work is because you had to do something spiritual. You may be like, well, what did I do that was really spiritual? There's so many things that we do unconsciously that we don't equate with spiritual work. Feeding our bodies, good food, getting rest, drinking water. That, for me, that's all spiritual. That's spiritual work. And that's also the energy of Virgo. In fact, this Virgo energy has been greatly complementing this retrograded Saturn, in that it's just been about every day. It's about building up your strength and your resources and getting things in point. And as things go forward, things are going forward. And you're ready. And it's not about being overwhelmed. It's about being you're like, I'm ready. I got my closets cleaned out. I got my houses swept. Everything's in order. I've just been sitting here learning how all this works. And if you've been feeling the energy of failure, I love the term failing forward as an expression. Failing forward is this idea that every time you quote unquote fail, you're just kind of experimenting actually. And you're like, oh, that didn't work. But what it did is it gave you information as to what's going on. It's helping to create a container. It's excuse me, if I walk over here okay, that doesn't work over there. How about over, okay, this is working over here. So it helps to create a sense of being informed. And that's really, really powerful, that every time we do our work on ourselves in any way, in any regard, it is acknowledged by that higher frequency of Saturn. And Saturn, Saturn and all the planets are all expressions of God. And it's a way to understand the planets, the planets, like this connection to the planets, and why I talk about them so much and so frequently, is that these energies are omnipresent, always happening, and can give us the different insights as to how to navigate this world in a way that really that gives us tools that can help us, that can really help us thrive, honestly. Like, if we know that Saturn is retrograde, that is not the best time to think that you're just going to be moving fast through a project. That means it's going to take longer. That means that that you're like, oh snaps, for 4 months. This was happening for 4 months, by the way, people, since June. So for 4 months, Saturn has been retrograde, and you were going to try to plan to have some sort of really big project finish up in 2 months. That's not good planning. And that's why it's so important to know what's going on with astrology, because like they say, I think I've said this before, millionaires, there's a quote, I forget the first part of the quote, but the second half of the quote is that billionaires use astrology. Like, billionaires are very much aware of astrology, and billionaires use astrology to make decisions. Because another thing about Saturn that's very interesting and important is Saturn teaches us how to value our time. Saturn teaches us how to be efficient with our time, because you recognize with Saturn energy, you only have so much time before you get tired of a certain thing. So you have to ration out your time appropriately amongst all the people in your lives that are competing for your time. And that's a beautiful thing. And that comes with experience, because we only have so much life force each day to give. And it varies depending from person to person. And I want to talk about that in another episode, how you can understand just how much energy you have in your body, in your energetic body. And there's actually a beautiful system called human design. You can Google human design. And I want to devote quite a bit of time talking about human design, because it talks about your personal power and your energy, and just how much time you have each day before you get tired and need to replenish and do more spiritual work to get your energy back on point. Take a break and go out into nature, or you need to do yoga or whatever, because you can work yourself to the stage of burnout. Saturn and Virgo, those energies are burnout zones. That is the energy of working so much, and you're working it, and there's a little bit of pleasure in it. But even when you're having pleasure, you still have to recognize, I can still burn out, even though I'm enjoying, even if I'm doing what's my life's work, even if all this passion, you still have to recognize that you energetically, you can be like all about it. Your body needs a break, and that it catches up with you. Saturn is the energy of karma. And so if we work ourselves to a frequency where we've been working really, really hard, even if we feel like we're good, that energy catches up to us. That's karma. If we haven't been working enough and we've been feeling like we've been kind of lacking off, that shows up too. There's consequences for that. So it's kind of finding that sweet spot between these two places of being. And luckily for us, this week offers us the release that we've been waiting for. Now, we won't really start feeling like the full fruits of that labor. We'll be seeing it come up slowly but surely. First, it'll come as an emotion. We'll just maybe feel better. Then it starts coming into manifestations. And for future reference, that's how everything manifests. First, you feel better, and then life shows you something better, because that's the law of attraction, and that we feel things before they happen. And if we vibrate at the frequency of feeling good, then we attract feeling good opportunities into our lives. That feels really full. It feels like a really full thing. That felt like a lot of work, by the way. It's been feeling like a lot of work to produce these episodes for you because Saturn has been retrograde and I've just been having to deal with that. And so that's been my life, to be quite honest. It's like, whoa, this is a lot of energy to make these episodes. Because I haven't been feeling the energy of just ease and flow. Like, I'm like, how do I talk about this stuff? This has been so dense and so just, And I'm just like, okay, wanting to get inspiration. Finally, we got some planets in the air signs. So, was able to use that energy today to make this show happen. And everything's going to start going into Libra and things are going to get a lot more cooperative. And I'll be back here to talk about that on another episode. I hope you have a beautiful week. I'll see you this weekend on our Saturday night show. Going to be amazing. Going to be a great opportunity to dive even deeper into a healing topic, of which I haven't considered yet, but you'll know as you listen in to that show, if you so choose to. 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Melanated and Spiritually Woke Saturday nights. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for being a part of this community. If you want to get to know me better, check out Adorable. Check out my Instagram. It's Adorable Earth Angels, my Instagram. I also have a website called adorableenergy.com. If you have any questions or comments that you like to share with me, please interact with me. I love it when people interact with me and give me feedback or give me ideas of things to talk about. I would love to connect with you. Until next time, I'll see you later.